The scanner array blinked its warning at 0300 hours, and Captain Darius Holt knew immediately that his career was about to become complicated. He'd spent 15 years mapping dead worlds for the Empire, cataloging lifeless rocks and frozen wastelands that might someday host new colonies. It was quiet work, predictable work, the kind that let a man retire with full honors and minimal scars. But this signal wasn't predictable. "Captain, you need to see this," Lieutenant Jessa Vaughn said, her voice tight with something that might have been excitement or fear. Darius couldn't tell which. The young xenoarchaeologist had only been assigned to his ship, the Meridian, for 6 months, and she still treated every anomaly like it might be the discovery of a lifetime. Usually, she was wrong. Darius pulled himself from his bunk and made his way to the bridge, the ship's artificial gravity humming beneath his boots. Through the viewport, the distant star they designated as Sol 447 burned with unremarkable yellow light. According to records, the system had been surveyed 300 years ago and marked as deceased civilization, no salvage value. "Report," Darius said, settling into his command chair. Jessa pulled up a holographic display that rotated slowly between them. "We detected a low-frequency pulse originating from the third planet. It's been repeating every 4 to 7 seconds for the past 2 hours. Geological activity? That's what I thought initially, but look at the pattern." She expanded the waveform, and Darius felt his stomach tighten. The signal was too regular, too precise. It had structure. "That's a beacon," he said quietly. "Yes, sir. And there's more." Jessa's fingers danced across her console, bringing up atmospheric readings. "The planet's atmosphere is changing. Oxygen levels are increasing, and we're detecting terraforming drones in low orbit. Hundreds of them." Darius leaned forward. "Our drones? They match Empire signatures, but there's no authorized terraforming operation listed for this system." A cold weight settled in Darius's chest. Unauthorized terraforming meant someone in the Empire's bureaucracy had ordered this world prepared for resettlement without proper channels. That usually meant high curator involvement, the kind of political maneuvering that crushed captains who asked too many questions. "Send a query to Fleet Command," Darius ordered. "Flag it as priority." While they waited for a response, Darius studied the planet below. From orbit, it looked like countless other worlds he'd surveyed: blue oceans, brown continents, white polar caps. But something about it nagged at him. The continents had familiar shapes, almost recognizable. "Lieutenant, pull up the original survey from 300 years ago." Jessa complied, and a second hologram appeared beside the first. Darius compared them, and his blood went cold. "The landmasses have changed," Jessa whispered. "That's impossible on this timescale." "Not if someone reshaped them," Darius said. "Those aren't natural formations anymore. Someone's been modifying the geography." The communications panel chimed. Instead of a text response from Fleet Command, a live hologram materialized, High Curator Maltese himself, his reptilian features arranged in what passed for a smile among his species. "Captain Holt," Maltese said, his voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. "You've discovered our little project. I trust you understand the need for discretion." Darius stood, military protocol overriding his growing unease. "High Curator, I wasn't informed of any sanctioned operations in this sector. Because it wasn't meant to be discovered yet. The planet you're observing is called Earth. It was home to a species called humans, violent, destructive creatures who annihilated themselves in nuclear fire 5 centuries ago. The Empire has decided their grave world will serve a better purpose as a resettlement colony for our expanding populations." "Resettlement, sir? What about archaeological surveys? If there was an intelligent species?" "Was being the operative word, Captain. The humans are extinct. Their ruins hold no value, and frankly, the galaxy is better without them. They destroyed their own world through warfare and ignorance. We're simply reclaiming useful real estate." Jessa made a small sound, quickly stifled, but Malthus's eyes fixed on her. "You disagree, Lieutenant?" "No, sir, as a xenoarchaeologist, I'd like to study the ruins before they are cleared. Understanding how a species destroys itself could waste valuable time and resources," Maltese interrupted. "The terraforming will proceed. Captain Holt, your new orders are to establish orbital security and ensure no scavengers interfere with our operations. Am I understood?" Darius felt the trap closing around him. Refusing a High Curator meant career suicide at best, imprisonment at worst. "Understood, sir." The hologram vanished. For a long moment, Neither Darius nor Jessa spoke. Then the lieutenant turned to him, her expression troubled. "Captain, that beacon." "I know," Darius said quietly. "It started when the terraforming began." "You don't think?" "I think we should do our jobs, Lieutenant. But carefully." He met her eyes. "Very carefully. If you want to do some archaeological surveys, you have 72 hours before the heavy clearing equipment arrives. Make them count." Jessa nodded and left the bridge. Darius returned his gaze to Earth, watching the terraforming drones swarm across the surface like mechanical locusts, erasing history one structure at a time. And in the back of his mind, a question gnawed at him: if the humans were truly extinct, what was that beacon calling? The cold was the first thing Commander Thane Beckett felt, not the comfortable cold of air conditioning, but the bone-deep chill of cryo-sleep releasing its grip on his body. His lungs burned as they remembered how to pull oxygen. His heart stuttered, then found its rhythm. Ancient protocols flickered through his neural implant, forcing consciousness back into a mind that had been dormant for centuries. Fail-safe activated. Earth under threat. All personnel to battle stations. Thane's eyes snapped open. The cryopod's lid hissed and retracted, revealing the dim red emergency lighting of the Vindicator's hibernation bay. Around him, thousands of pods were beginning their revival sequences, each one containing a soldier, pilot, engineer, or specialist who had volunteered for this mission 500 years ago. They had all known they might never wake up. "Systems check," Thane rasped, his voice raw from disuse. His neural implant connected to the ship's network, and data flooded his consciousness. Life support, operational. Power core, cycling up from minimal to combat levels. Weapons systems, initializing. Hull integrity, 98%. The Vindicator had survived 5 centuries of sleep remarkably well. "Commander Beckett." A voice crackled through his implant, feminine and uncertain. "Sir, this is Engineer Specialist Myra Okonkwo. I'm awake. Please confirm you're receiving this." Thane pulled himself from the pod, muscles screaming in protest as they remembered their purpose. "Confirmed, Okonkwo. Status?" "I've got 43 crew members awake in engineering. We're bringing main power online now." "Sir, the fail-safe, it's real, isn't it? Someone's threatening Earth." Thane accessed the sensor data, and his heart sank. Orbital scans showed Earth crawling with activity, but not human activity. The signatures were wrong, the technology unfamiliar. And worse, the planet's surface was being altered. Mountain ranges were being leveled, cities erased, oceans redirected. They were erasing humanity's grave. "It's real," Thane confirmed. "Wake everyone. Full combat protocols. I want this ship ready to move in 6 hours." 6 hours? "Sir, the last time we drilled this, it took us 3 days. We don't have 3 days, Specialist. Look at those scans. Whatever species is down there, they're not here to pay their respects. Move." Thane made his way through the ship, each corridor slowly coming to life as power returned. Emergency lighting gave way to standard illumination. Gravity plating activated section by section. Air recyclers hummed. The Vindicator was remembering it was a warship. In the command center, other officers were emerging from their pods, confusion giving way to grim determination as they accessed the situation reports. Thane took his position in the captain's chair, though captain felt like a relic now. He'd been a commander in Earth's United Defense Fleet, back when Earth still existed as more than a radioactive tomb. "Communications, start broadcasting the recall signal on all colony frequencies," Thane ordered. "Navigation, plot a course to Earth. Maximum burn." "Sir," a young officer said, Lieutenant Marcus Webb, Thane remembered, a tactical specialist who'd been 24 when he went into cryo. "The colonies, do you think they survived? It's been 500 years. "We're about to find out," Thane said. "If they did, they'll answer the call. If they didn't." He let the sentence hang. If the scattered human colonies had failed, then the Vindicator and the 50 other ships of the ancient Armada were all that remained of humanity. And 50 ships, no matter how powerful, couldn't hold a planet against an empire. 15 light-years away, Admiral Vesper Kane was reviewing supply manifests when the ancient frequency screamed to life in her neural implant. The encryption was 5 centuries old, but the protocols were burned into her DNA. Every human born in the colonies carried the genetic markers that would recognize this signal. She was on her feet before the first word finished decoding. "Terra Sanctum protocol activated. All human forces report to Earth coordinates." This is not a drill. Around her, The command center of New Horizon Station erupted into controlled chaos. Officers abandoned their posts, not in panic but in sudden, sharp purpose. They'd drilled for this moment their entire lives, even though most had believed it would never come. "Get me the council," Vesper snapped. "Now." Within minutes, holographic representations of humanity's colony leaders materialized around her. 16 faces, representing 16 worlds that had been carved out of hostile space through blood and determination. Worlds the Empire didn't know existed, hidden in nebulae and dead zones where no sane species would colonize. But humanity had stopped being sane the day they evacuated Earth. "You all received it," Vesper said. It wasn't a question. "The ancient fleet is waking," said Marcus Oren, governor of New Prometheus. "After 500 years, Earth is under threat again." "Not again," Vesper corrected. "For the first time. When we left Earth, it was already dead. We killed ourselves. But now someone else is there, and they triggered the failsafe." "What's left to defend?" asked Cora Yanez, her scarred face reflecting decades of colony wars. "Earth is a graveyard." "It's our graveyard," Vesper said quietly. "It's where we came from. It's where our ancestors lived and died and dreamed. And someone is erasing it like it never mattered." Silence fell across the connection. "How many ships can we mobilize?" Vesper asked. The answers came quickly. Each colony had built their own fleets, their own weapons, their own defensive forces. They'd had to, the universe was hostile, and they'd been alone. But together? 427 capital ships, Marcus calculated. Twice that many support vessels. Maybe 300,000 personnel if we mobilize everything. Vesper felt something fierce and terrible bloom in her chest. When humanity left Earth, they'd been refugees fleeing their own mistakes. They'd scattered to the winds, expecting to die in the dark. Instead, they'd survived. They'd adapted. They'd thrived. And they'd never forgotten where they came from. "Begin mobilization," Vesper ordered. "Every ship, every soldier, every weapon we've built. Send a signal to all colonies, we're going home." "Admiral," Cora said carefully, "we don't know what we're flying into. The Empire has ruled the galaxy for millennia. If they're the ones threatening Earth, then they're about to learn what happens when you wake a sleeping dragon," Vesper finished. "The Empire thinks humanity is extinct. Let's show them how wrong they are." The holograms winked out, and Vesper turned to the viewport. Somewhere out there, 15 light-years away, Earth was waiting. The world that birthed humanity. The world that had nearly been their grave. The world they would reclaim, no matter the cost. Behind her, New Horizon Station began its transformation from civilian hub to military staging ground. Shipyards that had been building colony transports switched to combat vessels. Training facilities that prepared colonists for harsh worlds now drilled soldiers for war. Factories that produced farming equipment retooled for weapons manufacture. The colonies had spent 500 years rebuilding humanity in secret, nursing their grief, honoring their lost homeworld. Now it was time to go home. And heaven help anyone who stood in their way. High Curator Maltese had assembled the largest defensive fleet in 3 centuries, and he still felt like it wasn't enough. Through the viewport of his flagship, the Imperial Sovereign, he watched as 200 warships arranged themselves in defensive formations around Earth. Capital ships that had conquered a dozen species, battle carriers that had never known defeat, destroyer squadrons that had raised entire rebellions. All of it aimed at 50 ancient vessels emerging from the darkness like ghosts. "High Curator, the unidentified fleet is maintaining approach vector," his tactical officer reported. "They're not responding to hails." "Because they're derelicts," Maltese insisted, though even he no longer believed it. "Automated defense systems from a dead civilization." Captain Darius Holt stood near the back of the command deck, jaw tight. He'd been reassigned to the flagship after Jessa discovered something in the ruins, something Maltese had immediately classified. But Darius had seen her face when she emerged from the excavation beneath what had once been called Washington. Terror and wonder, mixed in equal measure. She'd found evacuation records. Intact data cores describing a desperate plan to save humanity before the final war consumed them. Launch schedules for generation ships. Coordinates for hidden colonies. And specifications for a failsafe, a sleeping armada that would wake if Earth was ever threatened by external forces. Maltese had ordered the data destroyed. But Darius had memorized the key details, and now he watched those ancient ships approach with growing certainty that the Empire had made a catastrophic mistake. "Incoming transmission," the communications officer announced. "Audio only. It's on human frequencies." Play it, Maltese ordered. Static crackled, then resolved into a voice, human, male, calm with an edge of cold fury. This is Commander Thane Beckett of the United Earth Defense Fleet, captain of the warship Vindicator. To the species currently occupying Earth, you are hereby ordered to withdraw all forces from the Sol system immediately. Earth is sovereign human territory. You have 1 hour to comply. Malthus's scaled face twisted into what might have been a smile. United Earth Defense Fleet? Earth has no defense. Earth has no government. Your species destroyed itself 5 centuries ago. We destroyed our civilization, Thane's voice responded. Not our species. We evacuated Earth before the final war. We've been watching from the darkness ever since, waiting to see if our homeworld could heal. You've interrupted that healing. Withdraw, or face the consequences. The Empire does not negotiate with ghosts, Maltese said. You have 50 ships. I have 200. Your vessels are 500 years old. Mine represent the pinnacle of modern military technology. Stand down, or be destroyed. 50 ships is just the first wave, Thane said quietly. The second wave arrives in 4 to 7 minutes. I suggest you use that time wisely. The transmission ended. Maltese turned to his tactical officer. Scan deep space. Full spectrum. The officer's face went pale. High Curator, multiple contacts emerging from FTL. Hundreds of them. They're not using Imperial jump signatures. The technology is completely foreign. On the tactical display, new contacts bloomed like deadly flowers. 100 ships. 200. 300. They kept coming, more modern designs mixing with the ancient Armada, all broadcasting the same encrypted signature that could only be human. Impossible, Maltese whispered. This is impossible. Darius stepped forward. High Curator, I've studied the human historical records. They were a warrior species before they became a civilization. They fought each other for thousands of years before they united. They survived ice ages, plagues, world wars. They built weapons that could crack planets because they were terrified of dying. And when they did destroy themselves, they planned for survival. We shouldn't be here. We should run. The Empire does not run from primitives, Maltese snarled. They're not primitives anymore, Darius said urgently. They've had 500 years to evolve in isolation, nursing a grudge about losing their homeworld. And we just waltzed onto their sacred ground and started bulldozing their history. Another transmission, different voice, female, commanding. This is Admiral Vesper Kane of the Human Colonial Fleet. Commander Beckett has given you an hour. I'm giving you 30 minutes. We've crossed 15 light-years to get here. We've mobilized every ship, every soldier, every weapon 16 colonies could build. We don't want a war with the Empire. A pause, heavy with unspoken threat. But if you force us to fight, we will show you what humanity learned from destroying itself, how to make war so terrible that even the dead would weep. You have 30 minutes. Maltese stared at the tactical display. The human fleet now numbered over 400 ships, and they were arranging themselves in formations that the Empire's computers couldn't analyze, tactical doctrines that didn't exist in any database. Battle stations, Maltese ordered. All ships, prepare to. No, Darius said. Every head turned. Captain Holt, you are dangerously close to treason. Then arrest me, Darius said, stepping fully into the center of the command deck. But first, listen. I've spent 15 years studying dead civilizations. I know what it looks like when a species dies. The humans didn't die, High Curator. They transformed. They survived their own apocalypse and came out harder, angrier, and more dangerous. Those ships out there represent a civilization that has spent 5 centuries preparing for the day they could reclaim their homeworld. They've built their entire culture around the memory of Earth. And we're standing on it. Your point, Captain. My point is that we can't win this. Even if we destroy every ship in that fleet, we'll become the species that desecrated humanity's grave. They'll never stop coming. Every human colony, every settlement, every ship, they'll all come for revenge. The Empire will be fighting a war on every front against an enemy that has nothing left to lose. Maltese was silent for a long moment. Pride warred with pragmatism on his face. Send a message to the human fleet, Maltese finally said, each word bitter. The Empire acknowledges human sovereignty over the Sol system. We will withdraw our forces. High Curator, the Council will. The Council will understand that strategic withdrawal is not defeat, Maltese snapped. We maintain our dignity and avoid a costly war. Helm, plot a course out of the system. All ships, prepare for departure. As the Empire fleet began its withdrawal, Darius felt something loosen in his chest. Through the viewport, he watched the human vessels hold their formation, weapons still powered, not trusting the retreat until every Imperial ship was gone. "Captain Holt," Maltese said quietly, "you realize you've just ended your career?" "Yes, sir." "Good. Then you won't mind carrying a message to the human fleet. An unofficial one." Darius blinked. "Sir." "Tell them." Maltese paused, something that might have been respect flickering in his eyes. "Tell them the Empire recognizes their claim to Earth. Tell them we will not interfere with their homeworld again. And tell them that if they remain isolated in their colonies, we will respect that isolation. But warn them, Captain, the galaxy is a dangerous place. If humanity expands beyond the Sol system, they will encounter species far less reasonable than I have been today." "I understand, sir." 3 days later, Darius piloted a small shuttle toward the human flagship, the Vindicator. He transmitted his credentials and Malthus's message, and to his surprise, they'd granted him permission to dock. Commander Thane Beckett met him in the hangar, a tall man with gray-streaked hair and eyes that had seen too much. Around him, crew members worked with practiced efficiency, their movements sharp and military precise. "Captain Holt," Thane said, extending a hand. "I understand you advocated for peace." Darius shook it. "I advocated for survival. The Empire's survival." A thin smile crossed Thane's face. "Honest. I appreciate that. Admiral Kane is waiting for us." They walked through corridors that blended ancient design with newer modifications. The ship was a hybrid, Darius realized, 500 years old but constantly upgraded, maintained, kept combat-ready through sheer determination. Admiral Kane was in the command center, surrounded by holographic displays showing Earth's surface. She was younger than Darius expected, perhaps 50. With dark skin and calculating eyes. "Captain Holt," she said without preamble. "You've delivered High Curator Malthus's message. The Empire will leave us alone, provided we stay in our corner of space." "That's the essence of it, yes." "And what do you think we should do?" Darius considered carefully. "I think humanity should rebuild Earth. Take your time. Heal your homeworld. The galaxy has existed for millennia without you, it can wait a few more centuries." Kane studied him. "You're afraid of us." "I'm afraid of what happens when a species that survived its own apocalypse decides it's ready to expand." "Yes." "Good," Kane said. "Fear means respect. Tell your High Curator we accept his terms. Earth is ours, and we'll remain here for now. But also tell him this, humanity remembers what we did to ourselves. We remember the fires, the radiation, the billions who died because we couldn't stop fighting. We've spent 500 years learning from those mistakes." She turned to face him fully. "We're not the species that left Earth anymore, Captain. We're what came after. And if the Empire ever threatens our homeworld again, or any human colony, they'll discover that the greatest weapons aren't built in factories. They're built in the hearts of a people who've already lost everything once and refuse to lose it again." Darius nodded slowly. "I'll deliver the message, Admiral." As his shuttle departed the Vindicator, Darius looked back at Earth. The human fleet was already beginning restoration operations, clearing away the Imperial terraforming equipment, starting the long process of healing their wounded world. And in the distance, the ancient Armada hung in space like sleeping guardians, ready to wake again if needed. The Empire had discovered humanity wasn't extinct. The galaxy would never be the same.